Alright guys, it is the day after. We pulled out our Lutech 7000 lumen correction light right here. And we are inspecting our paint afterwards. You can see we have some very light swirls. This is decent condition, but it's not in perfect condition. This just goes to show you 2020 paint. We've had this a month. I washed it 2 times. Since we've had it 2 or 3 times, I did 1 rinseless wash and 2 contact washes. I did do a clay towel method, so the clay towel can be somewhat abrasive. You can see this is just a sidebar. The Optimum clay towel, very little marring. You don't see any sort of marring from the clay towel. I did do a pre-soak. I did a contact wash, so that would have eliminated all of the dirt. Rinsed it, then did our chemical decon and used soap and the clay towel, so you can see we don't have marring. So these are my 2 options here for polishers. Now, when it comes to polishes, let's take a look at what so many of you have seen this before. When it comes to compounds, polishes, I have a little bit of an addiction. I have tons of options, anywhere, you know, from something that's going to work really good on aggressive German paint, on finicky paints, if I have to do heavy cutting, sanding marks. I have all-in-ones. I've already pulled out the ones that I think in this moment will work. Now, let's talk about SMAT and DAT technology for a second. Now, some of you might be saying, say, well, Hoobie Woody. SMAT technology is super micro abrasive technology. DAT technology is diminishing abrasive technology. So the name kind of, you know, explains it for DAT, diminishing abrasive. So it will start off as a bigger compound or a bigger polish, and the longer you work the product, the more it breaks down and refines over time. So DAT technology, typically you have to work the polish a lot longer for it to finish out well. Now, some people will say that DAT technology finishes out better than SMAT. With SMAT technology, it's a super micro abrasive, so that means it starts out a lot smaller. So you can imagine, you know, let's say this is, oh, give me a second. I'm trying to find a way to explain this to you guys. So if you were to have kind of like super micro abrasive, this is the size of the abrasive for super micro abrasive, and the longer you work the product, it's going to stay the same. Now, if you have DAT, so imagine it starts off this small, or it starts off this big, and the longer you work the product, it eventually will work to this size. So the longer you work the product, it will refine better. So some people will say DAT is the way to go. Some people will say, if I'm preserving, you know, trying to do less passes and try to preserve as much clear coat as possible, I want super micro abrasive technology. I tend to be in this school of thought where if I'm only wanting to do 2 to 3 passes because I don't want to work the clear coat any longer than possible, then I don't want to have to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 passes to work it down to refine really well. I'm going to go with SMAT. So these are some of the options that I have, sorry for the shakiness, when it comes to polishes. I try to do a little bit of research, reach out. Now, what I have found is that a lot of Meguiar's tend to be more SMAT. So these are 2 options for me that I have within my wheelhouse. Sonex Perfect Finish, from what I've been able to research, is more of a DAT technology. Same with Menzerna. Now, Jesscar, I reached out to them. They said it is a SMAT and DAT combination, and that is a possibility that some can be like that. I believe Optimum Hyper Polish is a SMAT, and there are some of the newer Meguiar's that are both SMAT and DAT. From what I've been able to see for Koch Chemie, I wasn't able to find anything online or in different forums, but if you kind of read the description for it, micro polishing compound, it tells you wet, sorry, I'm going to focus for you. I'm reading it for me. So, wet, new, and dry microfiber completely with polish. Spread the polish evenly with the machine switched off. Switch that machine on, ideally on orbital polisher, and apply the polish with medium pressure until a transparent film appears. Remove polish residue with polish. So sometimes you just have to work with the polish to know if it is SMAT or DAT, and you'll know if Alright guys, so we're continuing to test out products. I think I finally landed on one, so let me show you. This was our before. Hopefully you can see all right. I wouldn't say it was heavily swirled and scratched. Let me turn my light so you have a better angle. I wouldn't say it was heavily swirled and scratched. I'd say mildly. Some of them are deeper than you would think. Gotta love the dealerships. So this was after using our Jesscar micro finishing polish. You can see it finished down beautifully on black GM paint that is notorious for being finicky. So if you are doing a two-step and you're being, you use a compound to get rid of deep swirls and scratches, and then you want to finish down well, you can see this did a beautiful job with 2 to 3 passes of finishing down beautifully. Now, I think because of the situation, I need something with a little bit more cut. It has nothing to do with the polish pad. Not every vehicle are you going to use the same polish pad combo. Is it going to work? So I probably could use their medium compound in this moment, but because I don't want to have to run the risk of cutting too aggressively and not finishing down well, I am going to switch gears a little bit. I was using the G9, again, not a very aggressive polisher. I was using it around speed 4.5. And the Jessicar polishing pad, again, beautiful job of finishing down well. I just want to go after some of these rids a little bit more aggressively or clearly. So because a friend has been recommending this so much lately, I have it in my arsenal. I wanted to try it out. This is Koch Chemie M302. I did switch up my polisher as well. This is my 21mm long throw. This is the Rupes yellow polishing pad, my favorite. I kind of go, it's like my blanket. It's my Linus blanket. I love these pads. So you can see here, I did about 4 or 5 passes, not super slow, moderate arm speed, finished down beautifully. So M302, there's hardly any dusting at all. You work it down long enough. It's not super grabby. It's pretty humid out right now. It's actually close to 80% humidity. Sidebar. We're going to sidebar real quick. Follow with me, okay? I'm all over the place today. For any of you who are doing polishing coatings, I'm going to put the link for this. I wanted to do a video, but it doesn't really warrant a whole video. I have a thermometer here in my garage that tells me outdoor temperature, indoor temperature, and humidity. So if I were to have my mini split on, and I'm going to be turning it on shortly because I want less humidity when I coat, but right now I like the natural light, so I have my garage doors open. But when you are working with coatings, especially, you want to kind of be able to know what your temperature is, what your humidity levels are, because that's going to affect your flash times, as well as, it can be a little bit grabbier. So I'll put the link for this. This has been a lifesaver for me, just to be able to know if I wake up in the morning, garage doors are down, and I'm like, hey, what's it like outside? It tells me the time. It tells me latitude, longitude, the weather, if it's supposed to rain. I have one outside in my garage or my carport that tells me, not carport, my porch that tells me the outdoor temperature, and then I have one inside that tells me the indoor. Huge technical tool that I use for coating. So sidebar, back to our regular scheduled service. So I want drops. Half a panel. Speed 3, spread it out. left, right with the grain. You don't have to do up and down. Then you're going to deal with loud falling. First pass, lower speed with your arm. Now you can try to move a little faster. Look through the polish to see what kind of correction you're getting. So you can see here, Landon calls them moon pies, but I didn't work the product too long because you can still see it gave me really great work time. We still have kind of these moon shapes going on, moon pies as Landon calls them. But I was able to see through the polish to be able to see, you know, what kind of correction we were getting. You want to make sure you have your light at a proper angle. So I can see right here. Just a light, faint line. We're going to chase that just for a second with our pad. Right there, it's showing up. And let me see here. What kind of correction? Maybe right here, we need to refine that. But that's also the middle, so I can always just go over that when I do my second section. So that way I'm not having to go over it too aggressively. Now, I don't tend to worry too much about paint protection on these lower panels because, one, people don't see it, and two, they're going to get the most heavily scratched up as soon as you take it out, especially the part here that has the orange peel. They intentionally spray a lot of texture, especially on trucks, to protect the paint, make it thicker. I'm not going to worry about paint perfection. You're not going to be able to see paint perfection, so I barely hit this here. And a lot of these lower sections, when I'm doing paint correction, I mean, what customer is going to get down here and see? You really want to go for the ones that are more visible. So I tend to focus more on the upper panels where you're going to see it, because especially because of the body line here, you're not going to see a lot of the swirls and scratches. I pay some attention to it, but I don't worry about paint perfection because, one, they get the most heavily scratched, you know, in the future. So I want to try to preserve as much clear as possible down here. So we'll go over this one line right here again, and I think it kind of flows over into the other panel for a little bit. So we'll go over that section. But essentially, I did about 4 passes. You notice that I didn't do up and down, side to side. A lot of science with paint now. Old school technique was to do up, side to side, up and down. More and more recently, polishers or detailers are starting to just kind of stay in one direction. One, I find when you're doing the up and down and you've got a lot of these body lines, it makes it difficult to keep your pad flat. Side to side, also, you're going with the grain of the paint, the direction that the painter actually put it on. So you're going to be able to, I think, polish it out more refined. You ever notice, like, if you have wood and you have a grain and you sand it the opposite direction, you're kind of going against that grain and you have a tendency of creating more splinters. Not that you create splinters, but you can have a smoother finish when you go with the grain of paint. And it's the same kind of mentality with car paint. Go with the grain, the way that the painter sprayed it on. If you have these curved panels over here, when he paints it, he's going to be coming this way with his spray gun. So when you polish, kind of move this way. Try to think like a painter, the way he's going to paint it on. Painters aren't doing this. They're going long ways and following the curves of the body of the vehicle. So that's how I polish paint as well. So just some little tips there. When it comes to polishing, try to pay attention to your backing plate. That way, if it's not spinning, you can sometimes put like a marker line on your backing plate to see if it's spinning. If it's not spinning, then you're not getting correction. You might have the polish getting all flurried on it, but you're not going to have really good correction. So pay attention, make sure your pad is laying flat on the panel. And if you have like weird curve lines here, then break it up. You don't have to be so exact with your overlapping passes, because if you come down here and your overlapping pass has you here, your pad isn't going to be flat. So bring it up, be flat, come over here, have it at tip. You might not get this, so then come back, keep it your pad flat here. So there's just some polishing tips for you along the way. Hopefully that helps some of you, especially if you're a beginner, but we're going to keep moving and get this knocked out. So I won't be back until we're all done with the polishing step, because I got to punch this out. All right, we'll be back later. All right, guys, we are all done. And that is beautiful. I am super satisfied with that. We worked our whole way around the truck. It looks fantastic. I would say we got 95% correction. I wasn't chasing every rid. You'll notice it's 4:45, learning new things every day. But we are done. I'm going to go get ready for our evening plans. I'm going to come back later on tonight and coat it. So we're going to probably break this up into part videos, part 1, part 2, and coating it will be part 3, so that way it's not super long videos. So this will be the end of part 2 as far as the polishing stage. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, I tried to give you some polishing tips along the way, but this turned out beautifully. It almost looks like a mirror already. I can't wait to see it with T6 Plus on it, because that stuff, from what I've seen, is phenomenal. So this is for my husband. I love you. And let's get her done. All right, we'll see you in the next video, guys. Make sure you check out part 3.